Last Monday morning broke with the tragic news of the death of Gold Circle's executive producer Raymond Rogers. Words cannot describe the loss of this man, the loss to his family, friends and the team at Gold Circle. Racing News will carry a special tribute to Raymond in our next show. Welcome to Racing News. In the show this week, we chat with apprentices Diego de Gouveia and Dennis Swartz, who are making names for themselves up in Gauteng. But first, what is it that makes a trainer-jockey relationship successful? We're about to find out. We often hear from trainers in their post-race winning interviews just how important their teams are. One vital relationship in those teams is that between them and their jockeys. The relationship between a jockey and a trainer is no different from that between a chief executive and chairman in the boardroom, or a professional golfer and a caddy on the golf course. Success or failure hinges on personality as much as results. Some employees get on better than others with their managers. Some footballers perform better for some coaches, yet fail to shine for others. In the same way, trainers and jockeys need to gel and share common goals of success. Racing in South Africa is peppered with successful partnerships. One only has to think of Sean Tarry and Simanga Khumalo, the Bass Robinson Yard and Bernard Fade Herb, and a little further back, Mike de Kock with both Kevin Shea and Waishong Mawing, and there are many more. So what makes them work in some cases but not others? We catch up with a few current combinations to find out more. Sean, how long have you been working with the Dennis DRIER yard?
Michelle, I've been here with Mr. DRIER now approximately 3.5 years. It could be a little bit longer, but 3.5 years I've been basically established myself here after Sean Cormack had that bad, nasty injury.
What horses have you been most successful with in the DRIER yard, and what races have you won with them?
I've been most successful with a filly called Sumalit. She won the SA Filly Sprint with me, and she won 2 other features with me. And then that filly Lady in Black, I won the Utukwini Stakes at Gravel Group 1. So been most successful with that 2 horses.
Sean, what makes for a good trainer-jockey relationship?
You know, Michelle, you have to talk to each other. There will always be a little bit of bantering, but I think mainly it's just to have that conversation. If you make a mistake, can you talk about it instead of keeping it in and then exploding at the last moment?
I think it's trust in one another and a lot of hard work. And, you know, he gets to know the horses, the jockey that's riding them every day. Feedback, which is vital to any trainer. And I must say with Sean and the jockeys that I've had in the past years, he hasn't got a lazy bone in his body. Sean is at it every day, 3 strings a day, and I think that's a big asset.
What are some of the pitfalls?
Oh, Michelle, when you ride a bad race or something doesn't go right for you in a race, and you come back and you just stand there like a passenger. You know, it's always good to just tell the trainer that you rode a bad race, or the assistant who's there at the time to just tell him that you rode a bad race.
So he grabs him. That's why she fights.
I suppose it's like any relationship, you know, to have a good marriage, you're not going to have a good marriage without pitfalls. So with a trainer-jockey association, pitfalls, many.
But they're all resolvable.
Oh, absolutely, definitely. Nothing better than just sitting down after track work, having a chat about the little issues that are not working out and sort out your differences.
Would you choose to be associated with a stable or to ride freelance?
Michelle, I actually enjoy riding for the yard because I get to know the horses, I get to know their quirks and everything, so I'm actually blessed to be part of a good team like this.
Look, it's worked for me. You know, I've never really had a top boy, because they're busy. You know, these top chaps, a lot of them wouldn't ride half as much work as a boy like Sean, because they travel so much. So I think that's the big benefit of the chaps that I've had. And you know, I don't have to mention names. You know who all the jockeys are that I've had, and it's worked for me.
Sean, do you and Dennis share a joke?
Now and then, Michelle, we share a joke, you know. You have to have some character in the yard, otherwise things won't go right in a yard like this.
What makes you and Dennis most happy?
When I ride him winners, it makes him quite happy, especially winning a Group 1 for him.
By the time this show airs, you'll be in Cape Town with your string. What horses can punters look forward to over the Cape summer season from the DRIER yard?
My two big horses are Sand and Sea and Lady in Black.
Sand and Sea will pick
He's
up
coming
that
off
first berth in the
Windop,
Sun Gold
but
Medallion Grade 1
it
of
looks like things are
464,000
really going well. And Lady in Black, well, she's one of the best around, you know. She's always there or thereabouts, not too far off a top filly like O Susanna. So all going well, hoping that those two can do something for me. But the majority of my string are young, one-time winner, 3-year-olds that I rate.
We've got a young string, but a powerful string. I think if everything goes well and our horses travel well and they take to the tracks there, I think we're a yard to watch out in Cape Town.
And hopefully they'll come back to Durban a lot more than just one-time winners.
Well, that's exciting. And all the best. We look forward to following you, even though you won't be with us here. We'll be watching you down in the Cape.
Yeah, well, we'll try and keep the flag flying. You know, we try every year. Last 2 years haven't been that great. But, you know, the wheel turns. And let's hope this year we'll do far better than we have in the last 2 years.
Peter, your yard's been associated with Pierre Corneille Orpha for some time. What are some of the notable achievements and on which horses?
Corneille's obviously been associated with Brett for a number of years. He's been an integral part of the yard.
Just grown stronger together with every year and every season. We've done really well together.
You know, obviously riding a high number of winners, but more specifically group races over the years. His association with Captain America has been very special, and he's got a strong affinity with the horse. He knows him like the back of his hand, and it's imperative that those boys know those top horses in order to get the best out of them.
It's such a good professional outfit that Brett runs, and I'm honoured to be a part of it.
In your view, what makes for a good trainer-jockey relationship?
I think it's all about trust, being on the same page as the jockey that you're associated with. Most trainers have a specific way that they want to ride individual horses, and that can be sort of relayed to the jockey, and he understands what you're going to say or what you're trying to say, and how you want the horses ridden in races. I think that's imperative to the success of any yard.
I think what makes good for a trainer-jockey relationship is first and foremost, I definitely think the communication between you and your trainer. That is a big plus if you guys agree on things. You know, if you can work together properly and put your heads together. The respect for one another, definitely. I think you know, if you don't respect your trainer doesn't respect you, I don't think it can work. And I just don't think there should be any excuses from anybody. If someone makes a mistake, hands up. I think that's how myself and Brett's been these few years that we've worked together. You know, if I've ridden a bad race, I come back and I'll tell him straight, I've rode a bad race, I'm not going to make excuses. You know, he'll come back and say, I shouldn't have run this horse here. So yeah, I think our communication with each other works well, and you know, we've got a great respect for each other, and we get along very well.
What could the pitfalls be?
Jockeys go in and out of form, whether it's lack of confidence at times. So you can be restricted to a jockey that's not riding at the top of his game, and so that is probably the major pitfall.
I don't think there's a lot of pitfalls in being associated with a trainer. You know, sometimes yes, you do have to ride everything. I mean, you got to ride the good with the bad, and that's how it works. So, I mean, if I ride a horse for someone else, and I've run a good race on it, and Brett's got another horse in a race and it's not that good, my loyalty is with my stable. So I think you make that sacrifice to ride for one trainer and stick with it.
You've worked in Australia before. Are trainer-jockey combinations in Australia quite common?
Well, in my experience, the best combination that I've had the privilege of working with, obviously, is Chris Waller, and his association with Hugh Bowman, who I rate as one of the best riders I've ever had the privilege of working with, is very special. His association with Winks needs no further discussion, but there's been numerous other horses over the years that he's built up a strong bond and affinity with, and he's an exceptional rider. Chris is in a very fortunate position in that most top riders want to ride for him, and he plays it right, and he plays them off one against the other in order to keep them biting, hungry, however you want to term it, and consequently he's got the best riders available in Australia riding at the top of their game and always wanting to ride for him.
Is it a little bit different in South Africa in terms of the numbers of top riders that we have here?
Well, obviously, there's a lot of top riders in South Africa. The top end of the apex is a little bit thin, with obviously numerous top riders going overseas. The core base of riders is very good, and we have access to some of the top riders in the world.
Would you still wish to have a rider associated with the yard rather than having to find freelance riders?
I think it's more imperative to have the right people working for you, riding the work. I'm very fortunate in that I've got two, Billy Jacobson and Loretta. They ride very good work. We're on the same page. Billy's an invaluable asset to the whole setup, and his input is very much appreciated and at the same time very valuable. So I would say a better starting point than having a rider attached to you. With the benefit of having top work riders who may or may not get rides from the stable, you still have the options of putting the best rider available for individual horses on, and at the same time using riders that are in good current form, which is always very important.
I definitely prefer being attached to a yard, especially if it's a big yard and professionally run. If the staff work well together and everything, then yeah, it's nice to be associated with a yard, because you wake up and you're going to work, and you're going to go work your horses that you'll be riding in races, running around trying to find rides, freelancing. I've done that before, and my preference, some people don't prefer being attached to a yard, but my preference would be definitely to be attached to a yard, and if it works well, then it works.
You have a good strike rate at the moment with some of those jockeys.
Anton and I have obviously we've known each other for many years, and I think at the moment Anton's ridden 6 horses for us this season, and he's won on 4 of them. So long may that continue.
Horses to follow from our yard, definitely Undercover Agent. He's won some nice. He's already won a group race. He's run second in a group race. He's won some nice features. He won the $500,000 race last season in Cape Town. He's definitely one horse to follow. Young horses coming up, I would say Hoodoo Magic. He's a very nice horse in my eyes. I think he's a horse that will do very well. A horse called Charles, very nice horse. Yeah, we've got a lot of youngsters. Trippers Express, Vasco Street Tractor, to name a few. But yeah, Bold Respect, definitely a horse not to leave out this season. He's a really top sprinter. There's too many to mention actually, but those are a few I would follow.
Warren, how long have you been associated with the Van Zyl yard, and how did that relationship start?
Michelle, I've been with them for 3 years now. It all started off, I was riding here, and I wasn't quite happy with where my racing career was going, and I decided, I'm going to spread myself around a bit, and so I happened to take a couple horses for Gavin in the morning, rode a bit of work. He gave me a chance, and the horse came and won, and it's just blossomed from there.
In your view, what makes for a good trainer-jockey relationship?
Well, I suppose the first thing is a synergy. You know, you have to understand how each other works. A trust. You know, I suppose one's got to trust each other. And you know, the thing is, I suppose at the end of the day, a jockey that works for you every day gets to know the horses, and that helps a lot.
Yeah. It's a many-legged centipede that, you know. But for me, primary is communication. I mean, that's why the jockey is employed by the trainer, for the feedback of the horses. And as long as there's a good understanding between the trainer and jockey, you know, we're both there for the horses primary and for the clients primary, and you know, we try our best and do our best to get the best out of the horses. So yeah, communication for me is key.
Are there any pitfalls?
Yeah, sometimes it's difficult for the jockey or the trainer, because some owners sometimes get upset with a ride, and they want to change jockeys. And so, you know, if your jockey understands that, like Warren's had to sit on the side at times when owners have insisted that they don't want him, and he just takes it well, and then, so yeah, that's a pitfall, but he's bounced back well each time that's happened, and that's very important.
I feel that, you know, a lot of guys can boost the horse up too early in its career, you know, and the owner gets a false sense of security with his horse, and you know, guys get very excited, and if the horse doesn't shape, that could cause a bit of friction between everyone. But as long as you're open and honest with communication, you know, I think you can bypass that.
Warren, do you prefer being attached to a stable or possibly riding freelance?
Personally, I like being attached to a stable. I like being there in the mornings, working the horses, getting to know them. I feel it's an advantage knowing your horses going into a race. Freelance, you don't really get the opportunity to ride them every day like you do at a stable. But yeah, for me, I like to be attached to a stable. There are a couple of pitfalls to it. You don't get to ride. You get to ride mostly the bad with the good. So you know, it's just part of the game, and you got to take that. But you know, for me, being attached to a stable is very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for me, it's very beneficial to have a stable jockey. I enjoy working with a particular jockey at a time. It works well for me.
We've got the summer season coming up. What horses can punters look forward to seeing from the Finsale yard?
Look, Michelle, I think we've got our old stalwart there. I wouldn't say he's very old, but old Black Ball, he's there. You know, he's having a break now. He's just coming back, so we got aiming him at a few feature races. He has been tried in feature races, and he's done pretty well. So we're hoping he can up his game a bit. And then obviously our 3-year-olds, we got some really nice 3-year-olds coming through. Horses like Perfect Peter, who won the other day against the two Joburg horses that came to raid. Marching On Together is a really nice 3-year-old. Once he goes a bit of ground, you know, you're going to see a lot of him.
It's an Open Sea.
Open Sea, yeah, just keep an eye on our 3-year-olds. We've got quite a few in the wings.
Apprentices from the South African Jockey Academy, Dennis Swartz and Diego de Gouveia, relocated to Gauteng this year. Dennis relocated in January, whilst Diego went up after champion season in August.
Since I've moved to Gauteng, I've probably had about 50 winners, and in total I'm on 89 winners now.
In my short stay so far in Johannesburg, I've managed to notch up 3 winners. Not many, but getting there slowly. And I've ridden a total of 69 winners in my career.
What does it take to break into the Gauteng racing scene?
It just depends. It's like anything. It can happen anywhere. It just takes one horse, one trainer to notice you. Joburg trainers do support the Appies, and Mr. Moore promotes them a lot, and that does help. But as I said, it's just one little horse that you get to know, and that horse wins a few races and someone else starts noticing you. So it's small things like that, but they got to work hard. Fortunately, there's a lot more trainers up there, a lot more tracks. They race more often. They've got the chance of going to Kimberley if they want. So there's a lot more racing altogether. So I think that's why the kids sort of do well up there. There's only a few of them left there. There's not a big crowd like we have down here. So trainers they're not forced to use them, but if they need someone, they are there.
I find that Gauteng racing is really quite challenging. A lot of competition, and you have to work hard to succeed here. But with saying that, you always have to work hard anywhere to make a good name for yourself.
I think that the racing in Johannesburg differs drastically compared to that of KwaZulu-Natal, as I feel that pace is more essential up in Johannesburg, and there's a lot more tactical race riding that goes on here as opposed to KwaZulu-Natal. And you're knocking heads with some of the best here.
Gauteng is quite a bit different than to KZN racing. in the sense that it's a lot broader base racing. Like there's racing in Kimberley, at the VEALE, Turffontein, and then you have a lot of people that train on their own farms and manage their own tracks. And then you still have the Rheinkes Training Centre, which is almost close to Pretoria, but it's really enjoyable.
Both Dennis and Diego have written out their claims. Nikki, losing their claim is a milestone in the careers of young apprentices. What is it about this time that makes it particularly challenging?
Michelle, obviously it gets harder for them when they lose their claim. You know, a lot of the trainers want to use them for their claim. And when they lose that claim, they tend to lose a lot of rides because they've got nothing to offer. Unless they're very good riders, which most of them are by that stage, some tend to sort of fall away, and if they don't promote themselves properly, they haven't got any advantage given to them anymore. So that's where they start battling, and it's very important for them to keep going and not lose focus and things like that. So we try and encourage them sort of when they're coming up to their 60 winners and going to lose their claim, just to work that much harder to carry on with it.
How has Dennis managed?
Dennis has been fine. Dennis is a very nice rider. He's got a good head on his shoulders, and he never really battled. Apart from his injury that he had about a year ago now with his knee, he always seemed to sort of do well enough. So when he lost his claim, he was going to be okay.
I ride a lot of work for Mr. Magner and Mr. Alexander, and I really get a lot of support from them, which I'm really thankful for. Then other trainers, I look where I can find rides and try and ride as much work for as many people as possible. I ride also quite a bit of work for Mr. Ezzy and also Mr. Terry.
How did Diego manage?
Diego too. Diego's always going to do well. He can be his own worst enemy, but he seems much more focused now, and it was his decision to go to Joburg because he knew at the end of this year he's going to come out of his time. And to get started now was a very good idea, and he is starting to pick up. It's not easy when you first break in there, but he has ridden there before, and a lot of the trainers know him, so in a few months' time he's going to be doing very well again.
When it comes to track work in the morning, I do my best to get around and try and ride for as many people as I can. And with race riding, I'm getting quite a few opportunities from Mr. Pettigrew as well as Mr. Magner, and I'd say that I just try and pick up odds and ends wherever I can.
I really enjoy Turffontein compared to the VEALE. It's a little bit trickier. There's an uphill and you have to take everything in consideration. Quite a few races that you almost jump right on the bend, and you have to really make your strategy almost before the race and work on that.
If I had to choose between either Turffontein or VEALE, from a preference point of view, I would most probably lean towards Turffontein. The reason being is that I started my racing career at Turffontein in the Work Rider series, and I just think it's such a beautiful course. I really enjoy the stand-side track with the longer straight, as once again the tactical race riding comes into play.
Do both Dennis and Diego have what it takes to make a success of their careers there?
I would think so. Because Diego is older and he's more experienced. He's been and come and gone and come back again. So he's definitely got what it takes. To leave the academy and to come back just shows that his passion is there. He's very passionate. He can sometimes get away from himself, but I think being in Joburg will help. His family's there, his support is there, and Dennis is the same. His family's there. His family's very supportive, which is a big thing when you're riding. And being away from your family can get difficult at times, but their families are up there, so I think that helps too.
In the beginning of the season, I made my goal to ride 100 winners at the end of 2018, so I still have 11 winners to go.
For the remainder of 2018, my goals would be to just try and ride as many winners as I can and just try and finish the year off on a high. I've just recently relocated to Johannesburg, and I just want to really work on my reputation and getting my name around for the remainder of this year.
The last full season I rode 50 winners, so I'm planning to double on those winners in this 2018-2019 season, or at least get about 80 winners for the season.
Next year I'll be qualified and I hope that I would have done well enough for the remainder of the 2018 year to establish myself in such a way that I can pick up many more opportunities from bigger stables, and I would definitely like to travel a bit more to the provinces, just do as best as I can my first year out of my time.
That's a wrap for this week's show. We'll see you all again in a fortnight when we build up to Bloodstock South Africa's ready-to-run sale. Until then, we wish you all happy and profitable racing. The Racing News Show and previous screenings are available online at www.goldcircle.co.za. Click on the YouTube icon, go to playlists, and click on Racing News to access all shows to date.